thinking about over the break, I wanted to share with you things that I think we have coming down the pike that everybody needs to be aware of in the coming months. By the end of the year is, I think we very likely get another major false flag event in the near future. I think that leading up especially into the 2012 presidential election, okay, this is all politics. This is all how they're going to spin it. It's all about PR. They definitely need to position the nation in a crisis. We definitely need a full-blown, aggressive, scary, fear-mongering, ridiculous crisis. They feed off this. They need this. So expect that as we approach this election period, there's going to be a major event. There's going to be this curveball. It's going to come into light here in the next couple of months leading up to this. I fully expect it. It's how they sell everything. It's how they pitch everything. It's how they're going to position the next president for the United States. Who that person is, I don't know, but I know that that's how they're going to position things. And I think a fundamental change in psychology is going to occur in average Americans. And I think we're finally going to get acknowledgement from the mainstream media, is that I think they finally acknowledge a depression. They've been beating around the bush, talking about a recession, talking about green shoots. None of this materializes. You know, QE1's going to work, QE2's going to work. None of it works. I think we finally get the acknowledgement, especially within the public mind, if we're not already there yet, that we're in a full-blown, raging depression. This is the reality of the United States of America, and it's all a product of our leadership. It's all a product of these policies at the Federal Reserve. We always go back to that because it's the leadership. Who do we blame for driving the Titanic into the iceberg? Do we blame the people that bought a ticket? The passengers? Now, of course, they're complicit. They bought a ticket. They were along for the ride. But it's the people driving the ship into the iceberg that are to blame. Not just the captain himself. You remember the movie. The bankers behind the ship, the investors, they were directing him where to, lead the ship. They forced him into an iceberg. It's the same thing with the president of the United States today, with the bankers overseeing, the real way things are unraveling in the economy and in global politics right now. And we're seeing this right now as I speak. These financial terrorists, people like Ben Bernanke, a 48-hour period of stimulus talks to keep this broken, insolvent, bankrupt nation afloat. That is the reality, are talking about Operation Twist. The names they come up with makes me want to do a backflip. Quantitative easing is the best name they could think of. So that's in the mainstream media for much of the past few years. Quantitative easing. Now, it's all about Operation Twist. Sounds so optimistic, doesn't it? Operation Twist, it's almost like a song. Maybe we can all dance to it, put a beat behind it. Operation Twist this nation right into national suicide is what it's going to do. This is QE3. Remember how I've been talking about this? We've all been talking about this for much of the past year. QE3 is coming, either covertly or overtly. Looks like it's coming overtly. Operation Twist is QE3, the third official round of stimulus. This is how bad the situation is. This is only evidence of the training wheels. This is only evidence of the breakdown. This is only evidence of the collapse. There should be no questioning at this point, people. This is where we are today, Operation Twist. So many are probably asking, listening, what is Operation Twist? It's really not that impressive. I've looked into it. Many of you have probably studied it. It's really nothing at all. What they're expected to do, what the Federal Reserve is going to do, is they're going to sell short-term, short-dated, short-duration U.S. debt, and they're going to buy long-term debt in return. Supposedly they did this in the 1960s. It's kind of a copycat of what they did then, but on steroids. All that this is doing is securing low interest rates today, this massive Ponzi scheme debt load today, into the future. So they're going to take advantage of these historically low interest rates. They're going to buy, 30-year bonds probably, 10 to 30-year bonds is probably where they'll be on the curve, and then they're going to sell short-term debt. That's it. That's what they're selling to the American people is going to save a nation. Operation Twist to save the day. How come I have a disturbing feeling that the only thing Operation Twist is going to do is confirm the Depression? That's not just an estimation. That's not a guess. That's certainty. The fact that they're coming up with new easing packages and new stimulus only proves the Depression. How else can we beat around the bush here? It's national suicide. Further evidence, it said that almost 80% of respondents who predicted Operation Twist believed that the Fed would act this week. 80%. That's a lot of people. 70% of respondents predicted that the Federal Reserve would undertake an Operation Twist in the near future. 70 and 80%, depending on who you talk to. This is where we are. It's not going to work. It's not intended to work. It's only intended to buy us time. It's only intended, not to buy us time, to buy them time. Who do I mean by them? I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about these criminal bankers. I'm talking about these criminal politicians that they own. Buy them a little bit more sweet time so they can siphon off a couple trillion more of your wealth. Take it from you, take it from the middle class, and put it and deposit it right into their bank accounts. It's exactly what they did in 2008. That's exactly where $15 trillion went. And it's exactly what they're doing now, buying a little bit more time. So these hedge funds that are completely unregulated and that feed on the dead carcass of America, it isn't even alive anymore. We're not even on a respirator anymore. We're dead. We're in the coffin. They're just driving the nail in, and they're pickpocketing the guy's wallet. That's where we are today. This is what we need to be talking about. This is what we need to take to the streets. This is what people are taking to the streets right now, as we're seeing in, our financial capital on Wall Street today, which has been happening for the past several days. This march on Wall Street, this march on a broken system, this march on a collapsing economy, this march on a fascist kleptocracy. This is no longer a democracy. This is no longer capitalism. This is no longer a nation of and for the people. This is no longer about pursuit to happiness. It's nothing about that anymore. It's only about these people sitting at the top that are driving the Titanic into an iceberg for their own devices. That's it. And there was an article that came out today. Maybe some of you saw it. A poker site was accused of a $440 million Ponzi scheme. First thing I asked myself was, how is this any different from the Ponzi scheme here in the United States? I mean, if our government officials can get away with a Ponzi scheme, why not let businesses get away with it? Makes perfect sense. I mean, hey, if you're running the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme on steroids, let other companies get away with it. If that's what America's about. If we're about bailouts, if we're about keeping zombie banks afloat, if we're about rewarding fraud and corruption and encouraging people to loot our country, if that's the precedent you're trying to set to our children, well, then at least let small business do it. What, you're only going to delegate it to the top? That's the America that we should be proud of? I'm sorry, I'm ranting here a little bit. I'm getting a little angry, but you know what? I am angry. You should be angry. America should be angry. We're being lied to. What is America doing about this? What are you doing about this? I want you to look at yourself. I know many of you listening are doing a lot, and I commend you for that. That's the right thing to do, but what are you doing? Can you do more? Can you tell more people? Can you share our message? Can you get it out there? We need to make this a bigger issue. We need to make this a bigger cause. Thousands of people? Great. We need millions of listeners, millions of people. I need your help.